Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen. My name is TheSparrowsJourney, and this is Mafia 3. And here are my thoughts on the game. After finishing it, after reaching the final point in the story, after playing for roughly 30 hours, which is what took me to finish the game, what took me to push through and finish the game, that by itself already says a lot. And after their latest patch, which unlocks the game to 60 frames per second or unlimited, I played on PC, and all my thoughts will be based on the PC version of the game. I see two ways of analyzing Mafia 3. You either played the previous Mafia games and loved them, and you come on to Mafia 3 expecting somewhat the same kind of stuff, or maybe you don't if you have done your research, or you have never played, you have never touched the Mafia series, and maybe in that way, you'll actually enjoy the game a little bit more. Some people are saying out there that this game pointed directly to the Mafia fans. I strongly disagree with that. This game has nothing to do with the previous Mafia games, other than having bits here and there, characters, moments, references from the previous games, and in some of its storytelling. Other than that, this is not Mafia. Mafia 3 could have possibly have been a totally new IP if they cut out all the Mafia references and put new characters or even put a new environment. I have no idea, because this game still happened in the 60s, and you don't even play as a mafioso, you play as Lincoln, a guy that comes back from the army from Vietnam, and you start from that point on. Gameplay consists of repetition, consists of being generic, being grindy, and that's all that the Mafia never has been in the previous games. Yes, here and there were some things that you had to repeat in order to continue the game, but never this massively repetition you have with Mafia 3. Your objective is to control the whole city in order to reach the top boss and kill him. I'm not spoiling anything around here. It's pretty cliche, actually. The story is nothing shocking or anything like that. And to do that, you need to go through several tasks that keep happening from district to district. And you have 3 associates with you: Burke, Cassandra, and Vito from Mafia 2. Normally there's 2 people, 2 guys for each district that you have to complete tasks for. And normally those tasks don't sway away from what they usually are, which is interrogate guy A, interrogate guy B, destroy his supplies, and kill that guy and whatnot. For each 2 guys, you have different tasks that are not more than fulfilling a bar, or more, I would say, rather, empty a bar, which is the damage you need to provoke to that business in order to take the business to yourself and, you know, for your own good. After doing that, you finally are able to bring out that sort of mini-boss of that area. And then you have to kill that guy. And then you have to do all of this once more for the other guy in that district. And finally, you're able to kill the other guy that owns that district. So it's almost as in a branch of bosses, and on the top is the guy that you need to kill. But to kill that guy, you need to kill the ones before him. And there's 1 guy for each district to kill, and there's 2 guys for each district to reach that guy you need to kill. And there's several tasks you need to complete in order to kill those 2 guys for each district. And this happens for every single district. You end up forgetting, you end up giving no value or interest to the several characters you meet throughout the game because of how cloudy it is behind these secondary objectives. And that's my main complaint about the game. Repetition, grinding moments, and it just becomes a generic kind of game, which Mafia was totally not. Mafia is known for being a unique experience, going through a shocking story, awesome storytelling. All the conclusion I get from Mafia 3 is that they used its name, they used the franchise just to sell more copies. There's no Mafia in this game. There's almost nothing left from the franchise that you could see and call Mafia in this game. There's a generic open world game where generic and repetitive missions almost feels like Far Cry in some sense. You see those little gray signs? These are boxes which you can wire so that you can know what exactly is happening in those districts. You know, these fuses are what you use to fuse one of these boxes. And each one of these boxes require, if I'm not mistaken, 3 of these items, these fuses. Is it this your way to make the player explore the city? Because if it is, it's not very compelling. It's not very interesting. There is even, you know, side objectives, what they call side objectives, which are these ones, optional chapters. So I've talked to Cassandra, and Cassandra told me to rob or to steal a truck full of weapons, because that's what she wants. You know what's gonna come after that? Another truck to steal. Vito asked me to kill a target. You know what's gonna come after that? He's gonna ask me to kill another target, which will endlessly make you go through the city just killing random targets. And you have to go back to Vito every single time you kill one target. I had to push myself through this game so that I could reach the end, so that I could finish the story in order to sort of give you my final thoughts on it. I didn't want to bash the game outright without finishing it, without being able to have the whole scope. But you know what? Nothing really great happened. Was it worth my money? Was it worth my time? Probably not. Again, if you have never played the previous Mafia games, maybe this will satisfy you. If you have played the previous Mafia games, avoid it at all costs because you will be disappointed. Not because it is the most terrible game in the universe, it's not. Let's put that out there. But the stakes were high. The standards were pretty high. And they had a very hard job to make it equal, if not better, than Mafia 1 or 2. Was that even their objective, I wonder? Because most likely the answer is no. This is definitely a new vision for the game, a new direction for the franchise. So with all of that said, comes the technical aspects, comes the other things that you could analyze in the game. I'll start by one that is very clear, not the most important, but one that must be mentioned: graphics. How the hell did they end up with these kind of graphics? The game doesn't look horrible. The game actually does a good job at peaking up and down, which is something very strange. Either the game looks really good, or it looks really terrible. One point at which the game shines is the cinematics, the cutscenes. They are very, very good, which makes those moments when you talk to those subcontacts in each district look very, very bad. Look at the freaking car. Look at the textures on it. It almost looks like as if the game was in 720p and it was stretched just to my resolution. That's what it looks like. The light is horrible. The way the sun comes up and goes down is horrible. In a total mesh of textures that make no sense at all. The actual look of Lincoln, which is the most important character in the game, or should be, doesn't look that great. I don't know what engine does the game use, but I'm mostly sure it's some kind of a changed Unreal Engine 4. And I say this not only because I've been playing a lot of Unreal Engine 4 games in the past, which resemble this kind of art style a lot, but also because my recording software normally has problems recording Unreal Engine 4, and it had problems recording this game. It doesn't look that great, physics-wise, image quality-wise. Only the animations, I could say, are really good with this engine, but other than that, this engine didn't quite fit the game, and the graphics are poorly done. It looks like something from 5 years ago. But if you look at games like GTA 5 or Witcher 3, you're gonna laugh at this. It's not gonna look good. Right now it might look decent, but there are minor details in dialogues with characters, in a fight, explosions, when you go against a wall, things like that. Takedowns that you can do with a knife, with Lincoln, and all the magical glitches that happen on the screen are horrible to go through. I'm talking about also shadows, and how sometimes invisible shadows show up suddenly, and sometimes your car even changes color, which already happened to me before. Not to mention, after the patch, after the 60 frames per second patch was released, the game started crashing much more for me. And in that regard, I gotta mention performance. The game doesn't run bad for me. I am getting 60 to 70 frames per second with the new patch, which is great. I've heard though that with other people's specs, the game is not running that well, specifically for medium to low spec hardware. I have a 1080, which is supposed to run every single game on the planet, and I would be surprised if I couldn't run the game well. In that regard, I have no complaints, but it's crashing here and there. If you look at the clouds, right now it is not looking that bad, but sometimes when you have the sunset coming down, in the nighttime as well, clouds look like from a game from 2000. I gotta say that they eventually made the decision to just, look, we're gonna make it look as good as we can for the consoles, and then for PC, we'll try to, you know, nail down what we can change and make it look good on PC as well. You were not successful. This might look great on consoles. It doesn't look good for PC. PC standards are much higher than this for today's technology and for today's game engines out there. I'm gonna crash my car intentionally into another guy's car or a wall, and you're gonna see what I mean. My car is barely damaged, as you can see. His car is untouched, as far as I can see. How is this possible in a Mafia game? Mafia 2 was much better in this regard already. Other games of the same kind are much better than this already in 2016. It's not excusable that this is what we get after paying for $60 and playing on PC. It's not excusable the simple fact that it comes out with 30 frames per second locked. I am not even gonna talk about that. That's outrageous. But they were quick enough to fix that on the weekend after the game was released. Moving on from graphics, the AI, the intelligence of the NPCs in the game are damn awful. They have a brain of a peanut, whether that is when you're fighting against them, whether that is when you are walking to them on the street, when you punch them on the street, when you splat them on the floor. There's a covering system in the game which I find pretty good. Most of the surfaces in the game I was able to hide behind, which is great. But the computer just doesn't use that. At times, they just brainlessly run with no cover whatsoever. Especially the guys with a shotgun that think they are some kind of bunkers or some kind of tanks. They just run towards you asking for a bullet in their head. AI is really not that great. AI is really not that great on almost every single aspect in the game. If you just crash into someone on the street, they keep driving forward. They're not gonna complain, they're not gonna shoot you or try to get you out of your car. They're not gonna fight back because actually, Lincoln is such a freaking Hulk that he's not even gonna allow anyone to fight him back, because once you do this, the guy's on the floor. He's not gonna fight back. Our punches are so strong you can freaking punch someone into the moon. This is how simple the melee combat is in the game. You basically have a punch key and you have a counter-attack key, which allow you to counterattack other guys when they are attacking you. But that doesn't happen on the street because nobody actually fights you back. One single push is enough to make someone faint or even someone to die like that. That lady, I'm almost sure nobody in this world, unless they are like 100 years old, would faint from that throw. I'm not asking for the girl to... Great, you just stepped on that lady to make sure she's dead. She's definitely dead now. And for that, I should probably kill you. The guy gets out of the car and slowly walks away like nothing's happening. Everyone around doesn't find any strange that there's a woman with a wheel on her head and there's a dead guy controlling the car, or was controlling the car. This is just a very simple example of how bad the AI is in the game. And there would be many more examples, but I would have to play. Look at this brightness from the sun. Is this the end of the world? Was there a nuclear explosion on the other side of this warehouse? What is actually freaking happening? In the topic of cars, they cannot be customized. And that's something that is hugely missing from Mafia 3 that existed in Mafia 2. I don't mean to say that every single open world game where you can drive a car needs to have a customization system for your car. The truth is, if your stakes are high, if your standards are high, and you always try to make a better game than the previous installment. I'm gonna give you a simple example. Witcher 1, Witcher 2, Witcher 3. Always updated and greater features than the previous installment of the game. Mafia 2 and Mafia 3, it's a downfall in many aspects. And you are taking away features that you expect them to be present on your next game. I don't see any reason why they would take the customization of your vehicle from one game to the other. Something that was, I wouldn't say essential to the game, but it was a big part of the game. It gave it uniqueness. It would make the game more personal to you because you could make your own choices. You could drive your own car with your own color, with your own rims. You could even have a garage of your own goddamn personal cars. What do you have over here? You either rob a car from the street, or you call a random guy, which is a perk that you get for giving one of your associates a district, which is calling a guy and getting a car for free. One of these 9 cars available. Most of them do the same thing. They are speedy. They have a lot of horsepower. Some of them have their specifics. This one, actually, I never drove this one, so why not ask for this one to come around? This one, I would believe it's for missions where you're going to be shot at a lot, and most of the bullets will just ricochet. Please don't run me over. I would appreciate that. Thank you. But there's really no uniqueness when it comes to cars in such a game where you have such a big part of it is driving. Such a big part of it is choosing cars to drive, is robbing cars, deciding which car you want to drive now, which car is the best for that mission. They totally dumbed down the way you manage cars in this game. Do yourself a favor and choose the simulation mode of driving. You have simulation or normal mode. Normal mode, your car is like this weight on the road that never gets out of it. Now with simulation, okay, I agree it's a little bit too much, but at least you can drift around a little bit more. And it becomes much more what it should be in reality. But I'm going to talk about 2 things that I think they have done greatly. The cinematics, the pre-rendered ones, and even some of the ones that are rendered through the game, those are phenomenal. And that's one of big part of being Mafia. And in that regard, I gotta give them credit. They have done it really well. The facial animations, the facial expressions are absolutely brilliant. One of the best I've ever seen in any game. You can see every single detail on their face. You can even acknowledge what do they think about whatever topic they're talking about by just looking at them. You can see them speaking through their expressions, which is great. And they have done an awesome job. You can sometimes see even their tongue when they're speaking. The lip syncing is awesome in this game. That's one thing I will highly appraise about Mafia 3. The other one is, and this is, I kind of have troubles with this one, which is the soundtrack. Soundtrack is absolutely amazing, but I have troubles in giving them credit for that. I can give them credit for the fact that they chose these songs to be in the game and to be featured in the radios and whatnot. Those are commonly known artists that you've heard in the past if you are 20-ish years old or 30-ish, but it's hard to give them credit for the songs itself. Outside of that, I would say the sound is there. It's nothing really amazing. It's not Battlefield kind of amazing. It's nothing really out of the ordinary, but it does the job. Now, those are the two things I would highly appraise, and that's it. When it comes to the story, if you take out all the secondary garbage, all the repetitive gameplay and grindiness moments of the side quests, which you are forced to complete in order to reach the final point in the story, maybe I would appraise the story as well. Maybe I would say, okay, it's cool, I like it. It's nothing really amazing, but, you know, it's there. It's a little bit cliche even at times, because you are betrayed in the beginning. You most likely know this if you play the first few hours. And your job is to kill the guy that betrayed you and kill your own friends. I guess there's nothing really new about it. You have to start from the bottom and you kill the guys that, you know, build the foundations of his business. I would like to mention a few other things that are not necessarily bad or not necessarily good or great. The stealth gameplay. There's a lot of stealthing involved in the gameplay of this game, and once again, I don't know how or why can this be called a Mafia game with so much stealth involved. I would rather call this game Hitman something rather than Mafia something. Mafia is not about being stealthy. Mafia is not about getting in and getting out without being noticed. Mafia is about getting in with your Tommy gun, shooting everyone in the face, and getting out with money or with your objective complete. I played this game in hard mode, in the hardest difficulty, from start to finish. You are forced somehow to play in stealth, because if you don't, you get slaughtered. If you find 3 guys in front of you with shotguns, you're dead. There's no way around it, because they hit hard. They hit like a truck, and 2 shots from those guys will kill you. So, Mafia 3, ladies and gentlemen. I'll say it again, I don't believe Mafia is a terrible game. It's a decent game and it's an awful port for PC. But as a Mafia game with a Mafia name on it, it's a mediocre at best game. With a kind of cliche main story, it gets clouded by all the branches around it and all the repetitive and grinding gameplay around it. I had to just finish the game and actually see if there was something else that I could find in Mafia that would save this game for me. Thing is, I didn't find it. And let me know if you found it or not. Let me know your thoughts on Mafia 3. Let me know if you come from a Mafia fan standpoint or if you're just, you know, a fan of open world games, which is totally possible. My name is TheSparrowsJourney, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for watching. And keep shooting, keep robbing cars, and I would say think twice about Mafia 3 if you're thinking about buying it. Maybe wait for a sale. Maybe that way you will be worth it. Definitely not as a AAA game and with a AAA price on it. I'll see you guys around. Have a good day. Bye-bye.
You get that truck?
Yeah. Let me guess. You need more?
As many as you can find.